Rare is the sequel that lives up to the original here in the greater Hollywood area. You know, box office smashes, classic movies, stories. They introduce characters, they set expectations, and just when you least expect it, they give you that great plot twist. Well, Bucks Ducks Part 1 certainly delivered all of that when they met in Eugene. There were plot twists, there were lead changes, there were obscure uses of the rule book. You even had a guy kicked out for spitting on another guy, and now you have the opportunity to see if the sequel can live up to the original article.
Ohio State comes into Eugene, Oregon, the biggest game in the country by far.
And this matchup has all the makings of what could be a special finish. Howard keeps. Howard scores! Touchdown, Ohio State! What a start for the Buckeyes!
Gabriel snapping back to throw. Going to go for the route in the corner and touchdown! Yes! Stewart with a grab.
It's Howard looking sideline. Open, Abuka, touchdown!
Ohio State will regain the lead. Gabriel wants to go deep. He's got Tez. Touchdown!
This half is our half. It's not going to be played with emotion, right? It's going to be played with execution.
Running out to his right, will throw the ball, and it is caught. Touchdown. Ohio State regains the lead. He kept it. He's going to get a first down or more. 20. Inside a block at the 10. To the 5. Touchdown. Dylan Gabriel. Oregon is back on top.
We've had 7 lead changes in a 1-point game and a minute 47 to work with for Ohio State to go and try and win it.
Wants to go downfield. Got it. Ohio State at the Oregon 28. Now there's still only 6 seconds left in the ballgame. Howard steps back to throw. Looks right. Pump fake. Now will run and has room and hooks down at the 28-yard line, but the clock is run out. Oregon is defeated. Number 2, Ohio State. Everything and more than we thought it would be.
Right now, the team we are, we got a good team. But we ain't done.
And boy, that one leaves you on the edge of your seats just begging for the sequel. All of those heroic moments. Ethan Gaines, one of our teammates, what a great job he did editing that piece and putting together the moments from the first meeting. We're pleased to be joined by the head coach at Oregon, Dan Lanning, who came out 1 point better in that first meeting. So, Dan, I think the easiest question to start, what obscure rule do you have in your back pocket that you plan to exploit at just the right moment this afternoon?
We're hoping to work the rule where we get to score some points. So I don't know how that's going to look, but we're trying to put some touchdowns on the board. It certainly is going to take that versus this team.
Yeah, Dan, well, you know, the big talk about this game is how your defensive front matches up with Ohio State's offensive line. So the importance of being able to stop the run in this game and kind of making Ohio State one-dimensional and then affecting the quarterback. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I'll say this. I think their staff does an unbelievable job of finding ways to run the ball. You know, they have 2 great backs. They've got an offensive line that's really settled in. I think everybody that watched the Tennessee game can see that. And Coach Kelly, Coach Day, their staff does a great job of scheming up runs. We have to eliminate the explosive runs. We have to do a great job of trying to stop their backs, and that's not an easy task with what they do. But I think our front's up to it. Our players have worked really hard this week. So excited to see them get out there on the field and execute.
Dan, I'm sure you've done a bunch of research, talked to a bunch of coaches that have had this experience when you play a team and it's a game we just showed how good it was, and it's round 2. So much worked well for the offense. The defense, I'm sure there's things to learn from. How do you approach that second game when it comes to the schemes of changing some wrinkles, making a few things different, and yet doing what you did so well offensively at the same time and not changing too much?
Yeah, I think it's always the double-edged sword, right? You have to lean in on your strengths and do what you're good at, but you have to recognize that there's opportunities to change some things and give some different pictures to both sides of the ball that they haven't seen before. So I'm sure they'll be doing the same thing on their side, and whoever can adjust the fastest and recognize it, you know, will have success.
Coach, I know that you know the importance of this place, but as the sun kind of creeps over the Rose Bowl right now, and it's like the football gods are just kind of blessing everything we have here, I would like you to tell me, what have the football gods blessed you with this team? Only undefeated team in college football still. You have huge wins, and then the next week, maybe a lesser opponent, and your team can still continues to win. What do you think it is about your team in that locker room, and why do you think you guys have been able to show up every week?
You know, I think the buy-in on our team is unbelievable. We talk about a player-led team. I think a lot of people say that, but so rarely do you actually see it. And we see that with our guys day in and day out, the way they work, their focus in meetings. The intention when they step on the field. I know how bad they want it, but they show how bad they want it by how hard they work. And that makes it really special. It's fun to coach. I enjoy going to work every single day with the guys that I get to work with and the players that I get to go to work with. So it's a beautiful thing.
Coach, Happy New Year. So, Coach Saban asked you about the matchup, your defensive line versus Ohio State's offensive line, especially stopping the run. The last time you two matched up, you two teams played, that week you lost Jordan Burch at practice, arguably one of your best defensive players. What does having him available for this game do for your defense, especially when it comes to stopping Ohio State's running game?
Yeah, we talk about strength in numbers, and obviously Jordan's a great player for us. But he knows that he's a great player when he has other great players around him, and it's great to have him back out there on the field. I know that they're healthier now in this moment as well. At this point in the season, it's tough. It's tough to be healthy. So we're going to need everybody that gets off that bus and steps on that field to be able to make an impact, and Jordan's certainly one of those players.
Well, Dan, we're looking forward to seeing you guys take on Ohio State again. Thanks for being with us, and best of luck and Happy New Year.
Congrats, champ.
Happy New Year. Thank you, guys.
Dan Lanning, coach of the Big Ten champion Oregon Ducks. How about this coaching matchup? We'll have Dan Lanning and Ryan Day. Among active coaches, Lanning's winning percentage is .875. He's 35-5, and Ryan Day now 67-10. That's going to be one of the big deals for Denzel Burke is see if Will Stein, the young offensive coordinator for Oregon, goes right after him again to make him prove it.
Yeah, I think that they, when you look at Oregon's offense, they're not just going to exploit Burke. You know what I mean? They're going to pick out a weakness, and they're going to try to take advantage of it, no matter who it is or where it is. But Evan Stewart, he gave Burke a lot of work the last time these two teams played, and Tez Johnson is actually their go-to guy. Now, he got hurt in the Michigan game, so he missed significant time. But now, having a week off, and, he's back. He played in the Big Ten championship game. So having Tez Johnson, I think their full receiving core is going to be a great challenge for Ohio State secondary in general. But Burke, he better be on his best behavior tonight because they may come after him again.
Yeah, into Pete's report about the Ohio State offensive line and the Oregon defensive line, and, Coach Saban asked Dan Lanning about it. I think it's the story of the game because I was at that Big Ten championship whenever Oregon took on Penn State, and obviously Penn State's been able to run against whoever since then, and I think Allen is averaging like 8 yards a touch since the Big Ten championship. But that Ohio State offensive line, what they were able to do against Tennessee, they gave up 0 sacks. Both Judkins and Henderson accounted for 4 touchdowns together. If Oregon cannot stop the run, even though Ohio State's had 20-plus different combinations of offensive line, that's going to control the game. So I think what Pete's echoing is the same thing that Coach Saban's echoing, that I think everybody's echoing. It's like, if Ohio State can run the rock against Oregon, that's going to be a problem, and that's going to be the story of the game.
Yeah, well, I think on the other side of it, though, is Ohio State has completely changed how they play defense. What they did against Tennessee from a disguise standpoint, from building 8-man fronts, from being able to play max coverage to having people on the quick game, outside advantage throws. I mean, they totally took Tennessee's game away, and they pressured the quarterback more. They got good front guys. When you rush with 4, they can double someone. When you rush 5, that creates 5 one-on-ones. And they were able to pressure the quarterback, which they were not able to affect Dylan Gabriel at all in the first game. So I think it's going to be big. Do they present this package of how they played Tennessee, which is tough for the quarterback to be able to read the disguises, because you got to figure it out after you catch the ball in the gun.
I think you're all over it. Just talking to Jim Knowles, I think there's some similarities with what Oregon's offense does to what Tennessee did. The difference is they have a lot more playmakers, whereas you just don't have that at this stage with Tennessee, so it'll be more of a challenge. I think coach is onto it. I think it's easy to look at Denzel Burke, who's a 4-year starter, and say, boy, he had a rough game. Well, he had a rough game because Dylan Gabriel had a lot of time to make throws. It's really the difference in this game for Ohio State, and their approach is the defensive line. Can they use the Tennessee game, kind of that blueprint where those defensive ends just dominated the line of scrimmage, whether it was run or the pass rush? If they can, it makes it very tough on what Oregon wants to do. Oregon wants to be able to win the line of scrimmage, make Ohio State have to get down with their safety. Now you got one-on-one opportunities, and now you can take some shots without those safeties back there to protect.
It felt like Sawyer and JTT were dancing in the backfield of Tennessee that entire night.
Yeah.
I mean, just like
the entire night.
The entire night they were doing it. Against Oregon,
they lived there.
0 sacks.
Right.
Like Lanning, everybody knows that.
And Sawyer looked like
Sunday.
They looked like they had something to
But
prove.
don't forget, that's a first-year starter in Nico. Now you're talking about
veteran,
the
63rd
veteran
career
guy.
start.
Yeah, coach already told us 63 starts.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Yep.
Well, one thing Dan Lanning told me is special teams are so important in this game because of field position, and he thought they had a great advantage in field position in the first game.
Yep.
So it's going to be a key in this game as well.
Yeah.
Got a good one, man.
Yeah.
All the
Appreciate that,
subplots, too,
special
when you
team
think about
guys like that. Appreciate that. You're looking out.
Think about
Hunter's
Chip
gonna
Kelly,
win
that
MVP.
brother. Chip Kelly calling plays for Ohio State. It was like 15 years ago that he brought Oregon in as the head coach, and also Dylan Gabriel was on his way to be a quarterback for Chip Kelly at UCLA, and just before he got on the plane, at Oklahoma, now at Oregon.
Yeah, it's wild.
Oh, wow.
All comes full circle.